All right, first off, we got a little first of the day, and then we have a here we go, second of the day.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 107 of CMD Tower's Brews and Builds. I'm Mr. Commodore 5 and my fellow hosts finally got on board with the most boring WinCon possible in EDH for today's episode, BigTuck.
I don't know if got on board with. It's like, I know that this is your deck, spoiler alert. So I wanted to be as open to it as possible. I was really looking for something that I would really wanted to surprise you in the yeast package. In some ways that you've attempted to surprise me in the past. Spoiler alert slightly, but we didn't quite get there, but we still got some stuff that's in the theme of the deck. So it's Friday. I am flush with beer from the camping trip. So here we go. How are you, Mr. Combo?
I'm good. Very into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think I'm 125 hours deep.
Oh my God.
I'm a completionist, so I'm trying to literally find everything. Does it give you a percentage? It does not.
What? So like,
I know.
But how do you know then? Like, do you just like, do you have to look online and be like, okay, these are the things I need to go to, or?
So that I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think the way that they do all of their quests, though, and this is how I'm tracking it, is when you hover over your map, it'll show you like artifacts, mysteries, wealth, and it'll show how many boxes there are that you need to check off to go find. It's just there are some things that maybe happen off grid that don't trigger those things.
Right.
Like one of them is a quest to do river raids. I haven't really done that much. I've just been doing like the story and all the side missions. So it's a lot of fun. It is getting a little
monotonous,
boring.
Yeah.
Well, it's boring because I'm so because I am a completionist. I think I'm probably at the 80-ish percent, 85% for the game completion wise and the main story. But I believe I'm already way past, I think I'm in the expansion level for how strong my character is. Because I literally do everything, and I just completed the entire skill tree. I'm like power level 500 or 400.
There's like nowhere to grow.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. And so, literally the place I'm in right now, it's like, recommended power level's 330. And it's like, that's cool. I got that by 50%.
Right.
So now I'm just going around just smacking people with hammers, poisoning, and it's just a slaughter. So that's been my life over the last month and a half.
So you would like this. I finally ponied up the money for Xbox Game Pass because I was going to buy a new game because I've been playing the Metro series, and the new one is just I don't like crafting games where you have to go and find stuff to build bullets and things like that. It's just not exciting for me. So I was about to go buy a new game, and I did the math that it's okay, if I buy 5 games a year at $20 which is the lowest price. That's the most I'm going to play. And now it's now there's games like Prey that I was I want to play that when it came out. And now I'm I can. So I downloaded UFC 4, which is just fun to just punch people. I like UFC. And you just go around punching people in the chest. And then I also downloaded Fallout 4 as well. Okay. Did you play that one? Because I know you talked about it with Will, or is Will the Fallout guy?
So Will's the Fallout guy.
The Fallout guy.
Yeah, the Goat is the Fallout guy. I am the Far Cry guy. I like Far Cry.
Okay, I was going to ask if you'd played Fallout 4 because it is, guess what it is, right up your alley, open world game that seemingly has no end to it. So I'm kind of getting into that.
The only one I've seen is Fallout Vegas.
New Vegas.
I don't know if that's Fallout. Yeah, that's the only one I've seen, and that's because the Goat promised that he would download it and literally just punch people and do nothing else, yet he didn't do any of that.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas is like Fallout 3.5. It was done by a different developer, and the narrative of Fallout New Vegas is it's very much lauded for its story and narrative. The gameplay, not so much. So when I got into it, as someone who's a Fallout purist, I'm used to an isometrical view instead of first person. I couldn't quite get into it. It was I played it 6 years after it came out, and I was this did not age particularly well.
Well, if you guys would like to support CMD Tower and all the content we put out, you should head over to our Patreon patreon.com/CMDottawa.
Yeah.
We have 4 different levels, and it literally varies from us sending you free swag, access into the Discord. Literally just join for $1 a month, and you get a bunch of soft value that we kind of bring our community. Plus, you help us get to our goal of hopefully getting to 50 patrons, so that way we can start having the collective on Brews and Builds every month. So definitely go join. Now, if you're already a patron and you actually have a friend, frenemy, someone at your LGS that you think would be a good fit for the collective, refer them, have them join, and on Patreon, shoot us a little message saying, hey, XYZ Demon Lord. I don't know if that's a real person or not, but that'd be a pretty cool name.
Like,
XYZ Demon Lord.
That's a good. That's a great tag name. Actually, I'm gonna go and see if they exist on Twitter.
And we will actually send you something for free, just for reference or referring someone new to the collective. Now, we also do have our store, cmdtower.com/merch. If you ever want to pick up any of our CMD Tower branded swag, that's the best place to do it. You should definitely go, because there's a redacted bit that maybe once the redacted bit is fulfilled, it can no longer be a redacted bit. I could then just say, here's what happened, and then I never have to talk about it again. Or you could just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And we do want to give shout outs to our amazing editors, because we couldn't do the episode without them, at Dear Squee on Twitter. Or dearsquee@cmdtower.com is his email. He is our audio producer, Squee McGee. He does in-person recordings. He obviously does virtual recordings now that Tuck lives remote. So if you ever need some audio help, hit him up. Rich Chaos Records would be happy to hook you up. And at _Tcoats, Tyler is our video editor. You actually have probably seen some of his work throughout the community. He works with several other podcast channels as well to help bring their audio to life in video. So definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the videos. Tuck, I was last night, middle of the night, I was just going through. Did you know that one of our YouTube videos hit like 500 views?
What? Which one?
I want to say it was the Human deck, your Sylvar and Trin.
The class. Wait, really? That's weird. That
Yeah,
wasn't even like a great
it
deck.
was very weird. Even the Sheldon deck only got like 25% the viewership of that one.
Bastards.
So, thought that was interesting. But yeah, guys, go subscribe, go watch the videos, or leave comments at the bare minimum. Let us know how we can make the videos more attractive, so that way you guys want to flock to YouTube.
And quick Demon Lord update. There was not an XYZ, but there was a 123 who I'm now pending following. So we'll bring him into the collective.
So Brews and Builds is our deck series. Since we conquered the path to 32, tackled tons of EDH themes, we're going to be discussing, or rather, theory crafting a deck that doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
Each month will consist of new decks, and we correlate how these decks are constructed, similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down to 4 different categories. The first one's ramp inside your board state. That's grains.
And grains are the foundation of a beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow and stabilize and ramp in your bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
And then we have, how does your board interact with your opponents? Maybe their strategies, protecting yourself. We call that hops.
And hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like this OG Lagunitas IPA, which is one of the first main market ones that is now brewed in Chicago. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board, so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then we have one of my favorite sections. Actually, how does your deck win or accomplish its weird goal? We call that yeast.
And yeast are living microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds alcohol content and the carbonation. Without yeast, to be drinking flat sugar water. Without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have shenanigans. There are no Altar of the Broods in my recommendations, but these are pet card synergies that are in the deck that are just kind of interesting or fun. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into jalapeno stout, or the addition of vanilla that turns a stout into a vanilla stout.
I was going to say cat.
Not every. Oh, damn it! I was going to ask you about that. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
So without further ado, guys, let's get brewing.
Let's get theory.
Episode 2 of Theory Crafting. It was my turn to get Tuck's help. So I was actually looking at my color pie, and I thought that my Grixis deck is a little blah. It's World Gorger combo or just beats with dragons. I enjoy playing it. I kind of get side eyes from my play group when I do play it.
Side eye.
So I thought, how could I choose a legend that embodies how I like to play, yet you have some rigmaroles to kind of work through? So, ladies and gerbs, I want to introduce a commander or legend you've probably never heard of, and it even has worse actual like art on the card.
The art on this is atrocious.
Garza Zol, Plague Queen. Tuck, why don't you read off what this card is, and then I'll kind of talk about why I wanted to theory craft around this.
Okay, so Garza Zol, Plague Queen, is a legendary creature vampire that's a 5/5 and costs 4 and Grixis. That's blue, black, and red. She's a flying in haste, which is pretty interesting. Then whenever a creature dealt damage by Garza Zol, Plague Queen, this turn dies. Put a 1/1 counter on her, which should just be called like Vampiric or something because it's on a whole litany of vampires. And then finally, when she deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And real quick, I actually did some research into the lore of her. So she came into prominence after the Ice Age started melting. And then all these bacteria and other diseases that were once dormant came to life and were ravaging all the life of whatever, all the living life of whatever that continent, or I think it's Dominaria, I have no idea anymore. And so that's why she's the Plague Queen. Because she's a vampire, she was immune to them, and she decided to strike at this time.
Very interesting. I think the more interesting thing is going to be trying to figure out how many cards is Garza even referenced in, because there's actually only 2 cards with Garza in the title of the card. Obviously, the commander we're talking about today, and then Garza's Assassin. Black, black, black. It has a effect I've never even heard of, Recover. Pay half your life rounded up. When another creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay half your life rounded up, and if you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Otherwise, remove this card from the game. So you have to do it.
That is horrible.
Or it gets exiled.
Yeah.
And the card is a 2/2 that sacrifices destroy target non-black creature. Not good.
Yeah,
and then flavor text, Garza is only quoted on 2 cards. Feast of Flesh and Gutless Ghoul. So Garza is one that is not what you would call popular with the kids. So my thought behind this was, okay, it's Grixis, so Grixis is going to do Grixis stuff. I mean, that's just what it is. It's a 5/5. It cares about dealing damage, and it has 2 clauses to where one is a deal damage clause, and then another one is a combat damage clause. So I thought that's kind of cool because Grixis, you could definitely do like some pinging type of effects to hopefully take advantage of her second ability where you're killing the creatures and you're getting counters on her. She has haste, and then boom, I'm hitting and I'm drawing cards. So kind of what I want to do around Garza is this in 3 parts. I have 3 different things I want to accomplish. I want to blight my opponents early and often, all the way up to the mid game to just slow them down. My commander costs 7. Grixis isn't known for the most ramp efficient other than just artifacts. So we're going to do this through pinging, through negative static effects, and then we're going to try to use board wipes and counter magic if necessary. The second part of the deck is we're going to swing with extra combats. I want to try to get as many deal damage draw card effects and do that to leverage to draw through the deck. Now, I do have something a little, I would call it sweaty because it doesn't quite fit the theme of my deck. It was just very hard to build this deck. So I do have one way that doesn't necessarily deal with Garza doing the damage and drawing cards, but I think getting extra combats or extra Garzas to just draw through my deck as quickly as possible is something that's a lot of fun, and it's different. It's not just playing Brainstorm, 18 times in a game.
I also did forget that you were a big fan of the All-American Rejects when you were building this deck.
That is true. Great swing.
Yeah.
So, and then lastly, I want to win off, like I said, the most boring EDH way possible. Labman, Thassa's Oracle, Jace combo, draw the deck. If you have no cards, you win the game. But here's where I'm kind of putting a deck restriction on me. I have gone with a 7 CMC commander, so it's very expensive. And I would like the combo to initiate somehow with Garza's dealing damage effects, Whether it's the creature goes to the graveyard and somehow I start the card draw engine there, whether it's she deals combat damage to a player and I get the card draw engine that way. I would like for Garza to really matter to make the combo go. So Tuck said a lot. It's a weird commander. What are your thoughts?
This was very difficult. There is literally no data. I'm looking her up on EDH Rec as we speak. I found one article that kind of helped with her. She's in 37 decks. So obviously there's not a whole lot to pull up there. I will give you credit here, though. I think she's actually a fairly interesting commander in and of herself. Like, I think she has good stats. She's a vampire. So if you want to do something a little bit different and go that route, you could kind of go there. The pinging stuff. I do really like I liked your 3 parts of the deck overall. You did chide me when we were recording last night about me yelling at you about the Lab Man Thassa, which there's so much work that you have to do to enable that. I'm fine with it. I'm leaving that mostly to you. I found some other ways that I think might be a little bit more narrow to win with. But overall, this was difficult but fun, and really kind of it was fun to think through and be like, okay, how do we make this work? Like, how do we talk about fun things? How do we bring up cards that maybe fell through the wayside, or ones that, I wouldn't normally play but feel right in this deck with the themes?
Yeah, I completely agree on all parts. The biggest thing that I kind of hit the roadblock with is I probably spent 2 hours today just searching of okay, whenever a creature receives combat damage, draw a card. Or whenever you draw a card, deal damage. And it's just how do I make this work? So that was a lot of fun. Found cards that I had never heard of. Excellent. Combos that I had never seen before. So I can't wait to talk about one of them. I think from one of the things I'd like to add to theory crafting is from a deck construction perspective, I think this is going to be probably a 36 land deck, but I think you're going to have to run probably all the fetches that you can. Yeah. Because you want to try to get to what I think then, and Tuck, you let me know if this is a little too high, I think you probably need 10 mana rocks in the deck as well. Does that sound fair? Yeah, at least that, because there's not a whole lot of ways to do it without those. You're definitely going to want to be able to run those out and keep them around. Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Well, let's just get into this. Let's get into it. I think it's going to be fun. Before we start, how many matchups? How many shake, rattles, and rolls do you think we're going to have together? I think we're going to have 0. Well, no, sorry. Off of what I think I tipped you off on yesterday, I think we might have 1 to 3 that are matching. I think maybe at most. Maybe at most. I will tell you this. Outside of the 3 that I'm thinking of, not a single other one I guarantee you will pick. Okay. Yeah. I like it. All right. Well, let's start off with the grain section, and I will kick this off. The grade section Tuck and I were talking about before recording, this was the hardest one to do. Yeah, by a mile. Yeah, and I think the reason is like what we've talked about. Grixis grain is pretty basic. It's your talismans of the world, your signets, your soul rings, your mana crypts. It's basically just jamming all that stuff in there. And so this card, I think, is a great card to put in here just because it enables the pinging to draw cards to opponents, but then also if I actually have Garza out, it gets me 2 card draws per opponent I hit. So Curiosity, I think, is a good card to probably just put in here. So single blue, Enchantment Aura. It's an uncommon. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. You can get them as cheap as 35 cents. You can, if you really, really felt like it, you could spend $1.50 for the 8th edition one. I think this is a deck, Tuck, that's going to live in the red zone with your commander and almost make the table feel like you're a Voltron deck. And so I kind of wanted auras and some equipments like, hey, let's get Garza, whether it's a little beefy, we're doubling her effects. Let's just try to make her do more. Yeah, I agree. I think Curiosity is a really good pick for her. One thing that I think is pretty cool with Garza is that she does have evasion and haste on her right away, right? So if you feel like it's not the thing where if you get up to 9 mana or 7 mana and you're like, ooh, but if I could just wait a turn, then I can cast this thing or do this other thing with her.
she can still be threatening there. So yeah, like I think Curiosity is a great card. Works well in here, low costed, pretty much does everything that this deck wants. You did cut this out of your Vial Smasher deck, correct?
That is correct.
After much debate and gnashing and wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Well, I don't remember if it was... No, actually, I didn't have Curiosity in there. I had Keen Sense and Ophidian Eye, and I think I cut those.
Yeah.
All right, Tuck, what is your first green card for this Garza deck? And I'm not lying, Tuck. I'm making our show notes as we go on, as I always do. I also have TCG Player up because I want to see if I can build this deck, because I kind of like this challenge. Yeah,
I think so too. I think in similar scope to like a Hazazon Tamar, when I play that, no one has ever heard of it because they're more new to the channel. So I think this would be one where like, oh, okay, wait, what? And they look it up, and they put it down, and they're like, what now? So this is a card I like for a lot of reasons. It's one that for me pretty much goes in every Grixis deck. But Nightscape Familiar gives you a lot of bang for the buck. Yeah, so pretty vanilla here, but like you said, we were kind of running out of options. But Nightscape Familiar is a colorless and a black for a creature zombie. It's a 1/1. Blue and red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then a colorless and a black regenerate Nightscape Familiar. I run this in at least one of the Grixis decks. I don't think I run it in Marquesa. But you're looking for that reduction on all of your spells, right? Your red spells, especially when you're talking about combat, that's really going to come into play here. And the one thing where I used to misplay this all the time is if a spell has both blue and red, you pay 1 less, not 2 less. And there was a long time of my early commander career that I just straight out cheated with Nekuzar. So here we go. It matters. But ramp blocks.
Yeah. Good card. I actually was going to put it on my list, but I was like, nah, I'm going to give Tuck the boring one. And Tuck will be happy you can get this in gold bordered.
What? Oh, what? What? How upset would you be if not only I got all my gold board cards, of which I have many, but I went through the effort of having them foiled third party?
I would actually respect that a little bit.
the extra effort put into this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would. You'd get a thumbs up from Mr. Combo.
Oh, all right.
Well, moving on to the next card. So one of the things that I kind of thought of with this deck is my commander does cost so much, so I'm playing late game. Yeah. So I'm able to kind of hold back stuff a little bit just to see, what kind of happens. And one thing we talk about a lot is how powerful enchantments are. So I think Mirror Maid will give me flexibility at any point to kind of figure out, like, what do I need? Do I need my own Rhystic Study? Do I need a Smothering type?
Right.
So a colorless blue enchantment, you can get it for $1.77. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or enchantment on the battlefield. And that's actually why I like this so much, is because it's any artifact or enchantment. A lot of these clone effects, it's something you control. So, I mean, for less than $2, this is going to help me adjust. Even if I have to burn this on a Soul Ring, that's okay, because I need the mana.
And we also need our... talked about Throne of Eldraine, got it right out of the way. So, again, as we made mention, still a trash set, but we happen to bring it up all the time. This card's insanely good. Like you said, if you need another propaganda even, right? Like anything that you want... The artifact and enchantment clause is such clutch on this, and for 3 mana, you really can't go wrong with it. I think this is not quite a standard in blue, but I think this card goes in a lot of decks that people don't play it in.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, Tuck, what are you doing for your next Hops card?
Okay, so I know that single shot draw spells are not your favorite.
Correct.
But I wanted to find a few that would help you draw cards and do something else. Right? Or draw you a bunch. So obviously I am on my anti-Phyrexian Arena. I just cut it from another deck. So if you need them, I have about 15 spare. There's a new card that came out in Commander 2021 that I think has a lot of wheels in here. So Stinging Study. 4 colorless and a black for an instant. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. It's about $2. So it's a one-time shot, sure, but for 5 mana and 7 life, you're drawing 7 cards at any time of the game. It's going to help you at instant speed, too. So it's going to help you build your hand up, dig into those things that you're looking for. The lose the life kind of sucks, but the fact that you're getting more cards out of this than what you're putting in, to me, makes this a burst effect that's a better Phyrexian Arena. If you want to run Necropotent, sure, I don't care, but the 5 mana for this for 7 is an insane rate.
Yeah, that's not bad. Because you are right. I'm usually anti the one-time use, but also usually the reason I'm anti one-time use is it's 3 mana for 2 cards.
2 cards, yeah.
Something like that. Or 2 mana for 2 cards, but you have to discard 2 cards.
One.
So you actually only lost a card. You didn't even gain card advantage. At least this, I'm going to go up 6 cards, and it's even each card I'm drawing is costing me less than 1 mana. So I'm okay with that. I think Stinging Study probably is a card I would proactively run in decks that have commanders that cost 6, 7, 8, 9 mana.
Exactly. And I took this and cut Phyrexian Arena out of my Prosh deck because it's like you're getting an extra card out of that, and it's right away. And also Phyrexian Arena sucks. So there you have
it. All right. My last one, Grixis, we love to steal shit. I mean, we don't like people to have their own stuff. We would like to be the one that owns everything. So I think Dak Faden would be really good for this deck.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll help enable a few things for me. Colorless is it? That'd be blue and red. It comes in with 3 loyalty, and it's a planeswalker. It's a mythic. Cheapest copy you can get is $20, and that's the secret layer drop.
With the terrible, that's borderline impossible to read.
Yeah, the Mythic Edition, which I do own a copy. Wow, $100 now.
Oh,
Jesus, that's a lot. All right, so it has 3 activated effects, and the first 2, I'm going to read the last one because this is not important for the deck. -6, get an emblem whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more permanents, gain control of those permanents. This deck isn't doing that type of stuff, but +1, target player draws 2, then discards 2. I could use that for myself. I could use that for other people. If they put something to top a library, like a Scheming Symmetry, I could run it in this deck and then make them discard. So that's going to help, and it's going to filter through, because I think at the core, I still want this deck to burn through the library as quick as possible to get to the win. And then the -2 is another reason I think it's a good grain card. It's just gain control of target artifact. It could be an artifact land. It could be an equipment. It could be an actual mana rock. This card early for this deck, with how expensive the commander is going to make sure either one of 2 things. I'm going to gain net value by taking people's mana rocks, or I'm going to filter through the deck and always make sure I have land, so I at least hit the land drop every time.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about that in my hops. But I think this is a deck where you're always hunting for land, right? And being able to discard a card where it's like, okay, I drew 2. One of them was a land. One of them was a draw spell. All right, I'll just bend the draw spell because I have other ways to do it. I think just now, outside of Tybalt, the Fiend-Blooded, I think Dak Faden is one of the most versatile commanders for the colors. What are your thoughts on this being like? It's hard because it's definitely not a staple. It's definitely not a standard. Let me ask you this way. I think, do you agree or disagree? I think Dak Faden gets better once you add another color to an Izzet in a deck.
I would agree with that.
I think
because Izzet on its own is Spellslinger, artifacts,
all permanent 7 dwarves. Yeah,
all permanent 7 dwarves. So I think you need to put in the black, the green, or the white, and you actually. white would be weird. I don't know if I'd like that.
In that? I can't even think of what commander that would be. What is green? What's your...
White. Wait, what do you mean? White, blue, red is Savine.
That's your Savine. Oh, yeah. Jeskai.
That'd be weird. Yeah, Jeskai would be weird.
That's a bad one. It really is like green. I think this goes really well in Grixis and Jund decks in that regard, right? I think this is really good in a lot of Grixis decks. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more on the expensive side.
All right, Tuck. Well, what's your last grain card?
All right, we're doing more draw stuff, but I think this again is going to play into the theme of the deck as said. So Tezoret's Gambit. So 3 colorless and a Phyrexian mana. So let me rephrase that: 3 colorless and 2 life. Draw 2 cards and then proliferate. So choose any number of permanents and or players and give each another counter of each kind already there. So again, I know you don't love the pay 3, draw 2, right? Not a great rate. But I think that with your commander gaining counters and potentially part of the Blight build of where we're putting counters on other things, that's why I think Proliferate, I'm not running a bunch of them, but the 2 that I'm talking about here, I think play very well into that theme.
So that's interesting. I actually never thought about doing counters. A lot of mine were a lot of static effects.
Oh, okay.
All creatures get -2, -2, -1, -1.
Right.
But that's interesting to kind of think of that. I don't know if I'm sold on it because, I mean, the 3 mana draw 2 proliferate's nice. I'm also just trying to figure out in my head how often is she actually going to have counters? Because it's not like people are going to be blocking her. She has flying and haste. Right. I'm always going to have someone to hit. And I don't think people want to block her because she's already a 5/5. So unless you're playing dragons or angels, you probably have Thopters. And when that stuff dies, she just gets bigger. So I don't know how many counters she's going to have. The negative counter proliferate's very interesting, though. I didn't even. If you have cards in your hop section that'll talk to it, I'm definitely open to it.
I got stuff that is in hops and yeast that are going to be very interesting for this.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the grain section. Now we're going to head over and actually see how we're going to interact with all of our opponents. And BigTuck, I think you should get to start. What do you think we should go with?
You have an interesting history with this card because this is one of the ones that I think was the disease that broke the camel backs, aka Mr. Gravino's terrible proxies that he paid off on his own. So, as the ice thaws across Dominaria as the Ice Age, various horrible welts and boils come across people that they're not aware of, almost as if they had received a pox. Not smallpox, big pox. Triple black, sorcery, easily castable with Dark Ritual, not in the deck. Each player loses a third of their life, then discards a third of the cards in their hand, then sacrifices a third of the creatures they control, and then sacrifice a third of the lands they control, round up each time.
Why do I like this?
So here's what I think this is, right? You talked about playing the mid-range, kind of slowing people down with the different blights. When you play this, as we talked about, lands for this deck are not as important as mana rocks, right? This doesn't hit this doesn't hit artifacts. So you're gonna have all those left around. You're drawing a gazillion cards, and as long as you have another creature on the battlefield, you'll be able to keep your commander, right? This is gonna slow down token decks. This is gonna slow down landfall and ramp decks, and this is gonna slow down life gain decks way more efficiently than it's gonna hurt you. So again, not going to be in every single play time that you're going to use it, but I think played at the right point, this disease is really going to do some wonders.
Wow. I mean, I'm interested because it's an old card and I don't own a copy. And so I think that would be cool to own. Is this a piece of Magic history?
It is not, unfortunately, but it is $15 and there's no foil that I'm aware of. So. Which is that's
that'd be right. Well, I say no. That's weird because I'm pretty sure Garza you can get in foil, and that's Ice Age.
She's from Cold Snap, which was later.
Cold Snap. I gotcha. Yes. So on its surface, it's very weird.
It reads. I will give you credit. It reads horrible. It reads really, really bad. So I knew you'd have some apprehension with this one.
So are you trying to do some like shenanigans where it's like, hey, if they're sacrificing and then I get to do stuff, like how are we? Is this just a hey, I'm doing a board wipe. I'm just doing it in a way that it hits everything.
In the latter, right? So this is a way, this deck, Grixis decks of the ones I've ever played are always tailing behind for the most part, right? Like you're short on lands because you don't have any ramp. You can be kind of short on creatures unless you're playing a token build.
But doing this makes you sacrifice your lands, so it puts you behind.
But I'm saying like if you play this on let's say you play this on turn 3, right? And you have 2 artifact manas out, and then you're playing a green player or an Omnath player, someone who has 5-8 lands, they're going to get dinged so much worse than you when this comes out because you're going to lose 1 land, but other people might lose 2, 3, 4, and you're already going to have your artifact package ready to go. So it's going to slow them way down more than you. Same thing with the discard, right? Same thing with the discard in your hands, right? We're drawing cards. We're always going to have a full grip. I think I'm telling you, I think this card's got a little bit more run to it than others. And I cut out another card that I know you would hate, which we can talk about at a later date.
All right, that's fair. Moving on to my first Hops card, I'm talking about a card that I believe first came out in Apocalypse.
Ooh.
I talked about how I want Garza's, whenever it deals damage to a creature, if it dies this turn, she gets the counter. I need pinging effects, but I also want to kind of do this aura package. So Quicksilver Dagger, I think, is actually pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
Colorless Izzet, enchantment aura. It's an uncommon. You can get it for 13 pennies, and it says enchanted creature has tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target player, and you draw a card. So we talked about pinging the players, being able to draw cards. Yes, so this is nice to where it won't necessarily kill all of my opponent's creatures, so I can do that rigmarole. But what it will do is I think there will be a time to where I can't attack, and I need to be able to draw a card somehow. So at least this, it doesn't even have to be on my commander. It could be on anything. Let me ping a player to draw a card. But if it could be on my commander, then it's just gravy, because then I could do rigmaroles of give it vigilance, let me swing in, I'll hit you another turn, let me ping someone. And now that it's target player, it also could do Planeswalker. So now I can also ping Planeswalkers, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I like it. I think this is a card that I've always liked and couldn't really find a deck for it. I think this will play very nicely into your commander and some of the other things I'm about to talk about, being able to lower some power because your commander is a 5/5. So we always want targets for her to ping with this so that you can add more counters on her, make her bigger, and get the draw effect out of it. So I like it. I think now, if this card didn't have the you draw a card clause, would you still run it?
Wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be good. Okay, good. No. I agree with that. I completely forgot that card does that.
Yeah, definitely. If it didn't have the draw card, there's way better stuff you could put in here. So, all right, Tuck, what's your next hop?
Okay, another disease card, another theme on that also is a big dinger. Deck. We're disease.deck. I think Pestilence is a really good effect in this deck. So 2 colors, double black for an enchantment. At the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, sacrifice it. And if not, you can pay 1 black and it deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. So I kind of have this like thought in the back of my mind that your life total is always going to be low, right? Like it's always going to be a little bit lower than everyone else's because you're getting attacked or whatever. So I think this does 2 for 'em. 1, it cuts down on tokens in faster decks. If they get a bunch of 2/2s or something like that out, you can wipe them, assuming that there's a 3/3 on the battlefield. But also, even though it's dealing damage to you, starting to ping other players down kind of all in the same run, so that if I'm getting attacked and I'm losing life, I might as well have you guys lose life too. You can also do some weird rigmaroles that if you do like ping with your commander and it's a 3/3, you pay this 2, then it dies, then it gets a counter, and then next time it's even easier to build up from there. I think this is kind of like a good way to keep parity on the board, which is what I'm really trying to go with.
I like it. I mean, I didn't put it in any of my picks, and hopefully it doesn't take away from you, but like Pyrohemia, same type of thing.
Yep, agreed.
You need stuff like that, and the only downside is that, yes, it does pretty much take away the ability for your commander to do it, but, if someone has a 4/4, you can deal 3, and then if you have a way to ping it with your commander, then you get to draw the card. So I like it. I think there is a package to where you have Garza and you have this somehow rigmarole up, maybe even somehow figure out how to bring in Intruder Alarm.
We might be talking about that later.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, buddy. Oh, Papa happy.
Just you wait. Just you wait.
All right, so for my next hop card, we talked about the whole pinging thing, and Pestilence and Pyrohemia and cards like that are very, very good, and they could definitely help you ping those guys down so the single ping will do it. But that's also requiring you to have all that set up on the board. So, one of my favorite cards and oldest cards that I have played, I think, is an absolute slam dunk. So we're talking about Basilisk Collar. Let's give this hooker some death touch. Let's also give her some lifelink. So, Basilisk Collar, 1 colorless artifact equipment. It's a rare. You can now get them for $1.50. Freaking go buy them.
So good. It's in a precon. They're in a precon now.
Yeah. Equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink, and Equip is 2. So being able
It's
to ping
bonkers,
with
yeah.
Death Touch, we talked about it during BigTuck Cheville episode. It absolutely unlocks all the stuff for you, but I think the lifelink is kind of sneaky good. Considering you said that you feel like my life total is always going to be low, so I'm probably going to need to gain 5
Some way to
here
get
and
back,
there
yeah.
just to stay alive.
This was absolutely on my list as well. I just couldn't figure out I couldn't put together, because I don't have a pinger package. I couldn't pinger package the P squared. I couldn't quite figure out how to put it to slot it into my cards. But yes, I think this card is like a must-have artifact in this deck. Any way that you build it.
Cool. Well, Tuck, what is your last card?
Okay. Again, this one was an accident. You got me on this. This also deals with sickness, mostly in sickness and not in health. But going back to the proliferate rigmarole, there's this card I think is one of the more devastating proliferates, and it's also a good way to start lowering some of these bigger creatures over time. So Contagion Engine, I think might be an interesting. I think that might be interesting if depending on that's the build you want to go with. So 6 colorless for an artifact, which is quite a bit, but that's fine. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. And then for 4 colorless and tap, you can proliferate and then proliferate again. So again, I'm not quite sure how much we're leaning into the +1/+1 counters on our gal Garza. But if you do play it and you see that's happening a lot, I think these proliferate things will help a bunch. But even then, this can shut down a token player, even if someone's playing something more mid-range like Drake's, or I think that one of the commanders we're going to be seeing a lot of is that Boros commander that makes those golems. Knocking those down by 1 across the board makes them easier to ping, makes it harder to block with, makes it easier to put counters onto your commander, and then you can proliferate, start adding those up back.
Yeah, I think the challenge with the Contagion Engine, and the reason I'm not sold on it for this deck, is I think Contagion Engine is a card like Chain Veil. You have to have tons of ways to add. Yeah, you have to be able to add counters. You don't run Chain Veil if you have 3 or 4 Planeswalkers. You do it if you have 15.
Sure, right.
And I think Contagion Engine, unless we're going to, other than the commander, unless we're going to do more, we're putting counters on stuff, I think we would have to have at least probably 10, 15 cards that either put +1 or negative counters on items to probably make Contagion Engine work. I think a compromise, though, Tuck, because you might be on there, the proliferate might be a loose thing, is what's it, like Karn's Bastion? The land that proliferates.
That's a land that proliferates? Yeah.
That might actually be a better fit, because I think if Contagion Engine went in here and it's like, okay, the proliferate, I think I would then need to figure out how to bounce it so then I could put new negative counters on their stuff. But it is an interesting thought if we went that counter route.
Ooh.
So, my last one is a combo.
Oh!
All right. So, it's a little sweaty, but I like it.
I like the start of that.
I like this a lot. All right. So, my combo is pretty interesting. So, we're going to start off with having Garza out on the battlefield.
Okay.
And casting Scythe of the Wretched and equipping it to her. So 2 colorless, it's a rare, it's an artifact equipment for about $5. Equip 4. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever a creature dealt damage by equipped creature this turn is put into a graveyard, return that card to play under your control, attach Scythe of the Wretched to that creature. So we put that on my commander.
Okay.
Then we cast Arc Bond. Whenever someone tries to do something to my commander, block it, whatever. Arc Bond, 2 colorless red, instant. It's a rare from Fate Reforged. Get it for about 38 pennies. Choose target creature. Whenever that creature is dealt damage this turn, it deals that much damage to each other creature and each player. So the thought is that you throw this on your commander. It ends up taking that damage, and it deals that much damage to everyone else. The ceiling. Your commander kills everything that's 4 toughness or less. You get all of that back, and she also gets +1 counters for all those creatures that died as well. The floor, though, is that you just board wipe, and you still get everything back.
Right.
And so I look at this as a way to kind of, with that theft piece, be able to take everything from my opponents. So, what do you think of Arc Bond and Scythe of the Wretched being somewhat of a sweeper, somewhat of a pillow fort?
It's definitely sweaty. I actually really like Arc Bond on its own. I think that card has a lot of wheels, and this deck and maybe some other ones. If you're trying to get cute, which I know you are, because this is in fact a cute deck, I'm here for it. It is in fact a Rube Goldberg machine in a big way, because I feel that if people see this, they're going to be like, we'll get to this. I think why this will work is that I believe the way that we're building this deck is we're going to be painting people into a corner of being like, well, do I want to block or do I just want to take the damage, right? Because of all the other effects going on. Like we talked about that a little bit up front, and I'll get to that more in the Yeast. So I like the Scythe in that regard, where now it's like, okay, not only do I have to sacrifice a flyer, but they're going to get it unless it's a token, right? Like Adios Angel, Adios, that sort of thing. And I will say this, I think if the Scythe was just the static ability, I wouldn't be so hot on it. However, that turns your commander into a 3-turn clock, maybe even shorter than that, which we'll get to. So yeah, okay, I'm back. Actually, no,
I feel like you just talked yourself into it.
I'm into it 100%. No, I like it. Here's the thing. If both these cards didn't work, I think both these cards individual of themselves in this deck work very well. So the fact that they both work well together, I'm here for it. I like it. It's sweaty, but it's in the right way. Like porno scene sweaty, not like male locker room sweaty.
I mean, can we call this slimy then?
It's more. I would say it's more slimy. Yeah. Okay. Because it works. Yeah. All right. I can dig it. All right.
Well, guys, that's gonna wrap up the hot profile. Now we're gonna head over to the Yeast and how the deck could potentially win. And I'll start off with the most boring of it all. It's 3 cards. If you've been playing Magic, you know what they are. So basically, the goal of the deck is to draw the deck and eventually have no cards to draw. So Thassa's Oracle will be going in the deck. That's a blue creature Merfolk Wizard. I hate the fact that I have to pay $8 because I actually don't own a copy of Thassa's Oracle.
Really? You don't?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised.
Damn CEDH over here.
The foil's 10? Yeah!
Yeah, but I'm going to want the extended copy, which is going to cost me a cool... Oh, God, I can't get the foil. Foil extended art, $67.
That's a price. You only need one, though, right? So you might as well get the good one.
That's fair. I actually think I'm just going to get the regular copy in foil, because that's cheaper than the extended art.
Yeah.
So, Thassa's Oracle, when it ETBs, guys, basically you look at the top X of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. You put 1 on top of the library and the rest on the bottom. But if X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you just win the game. So
last thing on Thassa's Oracle, this was a swap that you had me put into my mono blue Sphinx deck. It has won me the game, I think 3 or 4 times since I put it in.
Really?
Yes, it works great. Yeah, it works great. So I'm sorry, I didn't want to derail it, but I know you'd appreciate that.
No, I definitely did. So that would be the first one. The second one that does a very similar effect is going to be Laboratory Maniac. Doing this from memory, that is 2 colorless blue creature wizard. It is a
human wizard. It's actually human wizard, Harry, but that's okay.
It's a human wizard. I'm pretty sure. Is it a 1/2?
Double 2. You get your grizzly bear for it. Yeah,
I got 50% there, and then it basically just states if you were to draw a card and you have no cards in your library, you win the game. Yep. So that'll be Labman. And so then the last one is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, a little bit more flavorful because it does more than just win the game. So this is a colorless blue legendary planeswalker Jace, 4 loyalty. It's a rare. Oh my gosh, the War of the Spark promo is now $190.
Ooh, the Japanese version. Good lord!
Wow, the Secret Lair one's almost $30. The stained glass.
It's insane.
That's crazy. So
I wish we would have gotten one of those instead of 17 of Johnny's or whatever.
Jesus, I know.
What'd you get 4 in 1?
Yeah, basically the Teferi bundle with Teferi's protection. It was like the charity one. I got a Johnny in every single one, but I think that's what they did for everyone. I think. I don't know. But static effect, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards, you win the game. That is the win clause. But it does have two abilities. +1, target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, draw a card. Hey, I can either mill myself, draw a card, mill someone else, draw a card. It's all good gravy for me. -8, draw 7. Then if your library has no cards, you win the game. So that's basically my win package. I want to be able to draw as much as possible. But like I said, guys, I'm not going to put hold your butt cheeks, Grim Monolith Power Artifact combo, because I'm not trying to Blue Sun Zenith for 100 and draw out my deck. I would like to try to do it through some rigmarole that's a little bit sweatier.
All right. Yeah, I think in order for me, it goes Jace, Thassa's Labman. If I was going to put them in that order, right? I agree. Like Jace at least does something. And then Thassa also sort of does something. Labman is kind of a dead card. Like most of the time you don't play Labman until you already have it all assembled, right? And then it's just kind of icing on the cake there. But yes, if you want to win this way, you pretty much have to run all 3 of these in here.
All right. Well, Tuck, I think this is where you and I might start aligning. What's your first Yeast card or Yeast package you want to talk about?
So I have a Yeast package. I have a 1 card, and then I have another Yeast package. So let me start with the one. Let me start with the one that's the most straightforward. Again, your commander's a 5/5, which is pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, and the draw is really key in the deck, right? So figuring out how to give her double strike is really important.
Okay.
In my opinion. So the first one I think is the worst of the 2 is Blood Mist, which is very straightforward. 3 colorless and a red. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Pretty innocuous. It's kind of just, if you're doing the double strike thing, it kind of is a slam dunk in there. I think the better version of this is Ember Cleave, which is 4 colorless, double red for a legendary equipment artifact, again, from that horrible set. Throne of Eldraine. We were correct on the nose on that one again. It's got flash. It costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. They get +1/+1 and have double strike and trample. Really, it's just another double strike enabler. And this one at flash speed, you can kind of catch someone maybe when their pants are down. But, Mr. Combo, what is the most important reason why double strike is important on your commander?
Because every time it deals combat damage to a player, I get to draw a card.
Well, that is definitely one of them. But what is that? How much damage will it be doing each turn just on the nose?
10.
10. And why is that important?
Because 21 commander damage means I win the game.
Oh, no. You win it much faster than that, sir. Because again, with the sickness, we give it a little tainted strike action, and now you can just one-shot somebody. Tainted strike, 1 black for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains infect until end of turn. You don't even need 21. You only need 10, baby. That's what we're going for. Out of nowhere. Now, I thought about leaning. I've seen builds of the deck that really lean super hard into the infect. I'm not dipping my toes. I kind of have my hand into the water, like I'm angling, right? Like I'm catfishing under the water, trying to get that thing. But that's the magic number. With just 1 double strike enabler and tainted strike, boom. 1 less player you have to worry about.
But then now I'm not going to be dealing combat damage, or no, it deals combat damage in the form of infect. Okay, so I'll also be able to draw my cards.
Yeah, it deals damage to creatures in the form of counters and to players in the form of poison counters, but I believe it still deals damage.
Wow, and a foil copy of that's $15.
What?
Or I could just get the non-foil for $1, which I will do.
Wow, that's actually still kind of surprising. But yes, again, just being able to one-shot someone with your commander, especially because she costs so much, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Ember Cleave is an awesome card.
Yeah, it's so good.
Definitely, I thought of another equipment from that trash set, Throne of Eldraine, that should probably go in here. Begins with Shadow, ends with Spear.
Oh, yeah.
That would also be...
No, that is from a good set. That's from the Theros set.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought Shadow Spear was from Throne as well.
No. But yes, you are correct. That is also a slam dunk in this deck.
Oh, man. But yeah, I like this like double strike package. And then like if there are either random pump or infect spells that you can do at instant speed, that's pretty cute. I like it.
And I think like the reason why I went with Tainted Strike specifically is because I think if you put something on her that gives her infect, people are going to see it coming from a mile away, right? And like, oh, this is an infect deck now we have to like really worry about this. But the fact that you can just do this little thing and then you're good to go.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Also, if you're curious, you could get a full art Shadow Spear for only like $5 more than the regular.
God, what's that? $25? 30?
25.
Ugh. Hate that
All right.
card.
Well, my second package is I talked how I want to try to do stuff with Garza. Want to do it as often as possible. So one way to do that is to have lots of copies of her. So I think a slam dunk in here is going to be Helm of the Host.
Oh, yeah.
Or colorless.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary artifact equipment. $15. Wow. It's a rare from Dominaria. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary if equipped creature is legendary, and that token gains haste. So basically, is if I can keep getting more and more Garzas to get more and more and more draw triggers, that's going to get me to my Labman Thassa Jace win even quicker. Plus, it's more flavorful because now I am hitting you for 5, and it's not like I'm just paying mana to draw a card. So it lets me be aggressive and in the red zone, but still try to win through dirtily winning.
Yeah, I think if you're playing this tail end of the game, this is really going to help you out. I am a big fan of Helm of the Host. I actually had to cut it from Hazazon because it does cost a lot, but if you can play it at the right time, it is incredibly backbreaking, especially if you can put it on like your Thassa's Oracle, even then as like a backup, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing, Tuck, is, Hazazon costs a lot, but you're in green, so you could ramp really quick. I can't do that. So most likely there will be games where I play Garza on turn 8. And so doing Helm of the Host on turn 5 doesn't feel as bad. Right.
Yeah, good point.
So that's the first one. And then the next two are the Sakashima twins.
Oh, yeah.
With we'll start first with Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. This is the more recent one. So this is 3 colorless blue, legendary creature, human rogue. It's a mythic for $20. Good God.
Yeah, it's unreal.
You may have
partner.
Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. ETB is a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima of 1,000 Faces' other abilities, which her other abilities are the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. It's a 3/1. So once again, this just gets me another Garza. And if I have a way to clone Garza, now I don't have to worry about a legendary rule. I don't think I'm going to have too much of that in this deck. I think it's going to be more ETB, you are it, legend doesn't matter. Or ETB, you gain its effects at least. So then that way I have a somewhat clone copy of it.
Right.
And then lastly is going to be Sakashima the Imposter, which funny enough is actually what Mr. T's avatar is based off of, that particular card.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was wondering about that.
Sakashima the Imposter was the OG Sakashima, does very similar things as 1,000 Faces, but a little bit different. So 2 colorless blue, still a 3/1. As it comes into play, you may choose a creature in play. If you do, Sakashima comes into play as a copy of that creature, except its name is still Sakashima the Imposter, and it's still legendary, and it gains pay its 2 colorless blue, return Sakashima the Imposter to its owner's hand at end of turn. This is also a $12 card. God, I'm picking expensive cards.
I know, I was going to say, this sounds like it's going to be an expensive deck.
So basically, this one comes in, it's still Sakashima, so the legend rule doesn't matter because it doesn't check a name, but it still has the, hey, when you deal damage on a player, you get to draw a card. When you deal damage to creatures, if they die, it gets a +1 counter. So I think having this somewhat clone Garza package is going to be critical to the deck because she costs 8. Once she's out there, I can't afford to pay 10, 12, 14. I need her to be 8, and then for 4 mana, get another copy.
Get another one. Yeah, I agree. And I think like if you're playing Garza vampires, you can kind of be like sweatier with her, right? But the way that you're building it, you need, like, she is the centerpiece more than a lot of decks that we've talked about on here, right? It's truly dependent on her, and being able to have as many copies of her. And I'm sure we didn't get into it because it's boring, but like a lot of protection spells, a lot of way to make sure she stays on the board, I think is going to be critical for this deck to actually work. So I like it. They're all good. All good.
All right. Well, what's your second round of Yeast?
So
is this another multi-parter?
This is a one-parter. One-parter. So I know you talked about in your goals, talking a little bit about like trying to get some extra combat steps in.
I did.
And this one is, I was really trying to figure out the way to do it that was the most effective. And as we talked about, I think in the idealized version of this deck, we're going to be keeping the boards in check, right? Like we're not going to let people have a gazillion creatures. Hopefully maybe like just a couple, right? So for my money, Port Razor will really put the emphasis on the opponent, right? So 3 colorless, double red for a creature Orc Pirate. When it deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. It can attack a player it's already attacked this turn. So the reason why I like this is that I hope we get to a point, and we talked about this earlier with your like Scythe of the Wretched. I think that we want to paint people into corners of being like, what do I really want to take? Do I want to, if I have a blocker or 1 flyer or something like those lines, do I really want to just take the commander damage and then Mr. Combo draws a card? Or would I rather take another creature damage or 4 damage here or 5 damage here, comparative to the commander damage, especially as like a 5/5. So if you play it right, I think Port Razor could be something where you'll get at least another combat every single time, picking on the smaller players who maybe don't have as much of a board wipe, or maybe they're playing more of like an enchantment or control build where they don't even have 2 creatures. They may only have 1, right? So again, I think it's not, I've intentionally put it in for that reason. I think if you wanted to do other combat mechanics, additional combat mechanics, there's also a lot of things to plumb from. This one for me, as a creature that's repeatable, kind of struck out to mind.
Yeah, well, and Tuck, the funny thing is, because you and I shock each other with these, Port Razor works beautifully with Sakashima. Because Sakashima could be Port Razor and can attack infinitely. She just attacks forever. So there we go. He did break it. Infinite combo. I did break it. So
I've turned into my own worst enemy.
Because of that, I actually like Port Razor. Port Razor's a card that, I've looked at it for decks because like this would be great in my Neheb deck. This would be great in my Garrett deck, but it doesn't have evasion. And that's like where
so hard. And
it's 5 mana. So it's like 5 mana, no evasion, doesn't have haste. Where does it actually fit? So that's where I kind of struggle sometimes with Port Razor.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the upside potential in this deck, especially with if we have a lot of these beginning of combat things, Home of the Host, and get additional triggers. We, on your Blood Mist, get to give something else a double strike until end of turn. Maybe I give it to Port Razor the first time, Garza the second time. So I think I think this actually does have a lot of legs that could probably do some different stuff.
Hey, and it's way down in price. It's $2.88. So well worth picking up.
All right. Now, are you ready for the sweatiest combo possible?
I'm rubbing my hands together in excitement.
All right. So first card in the combo is going to be Body of Knowledge. 3 colorless, blue.
Interesting start.
Creature avatar, rare. Star, power and toughness is equal to the number of cards in my hand. I get no maximum hand size. And whenever it is dealt damage, draw that many cards.
All right.
So that's the first card.
I think I'm starting to piece where this is going.
And I'm going to do this a little out of order, so it'll be harder to guess. Second card, as part of the combo, Library of Ling. Single colorless artifact. You have no maximum hand size. If an effect causes you to discard a card, you may put it on top of your library instead of your graveyard. For the finisher,
is there some card that's like discard a card and ping something?
Well, Tuck, it's funny you should mention that. We're going to put in Kindle the Carnage. Colorless red.
The what?
Sorcery. Discard a card at random. If you do, Kindle the Carnage deals damage equal to that card's CMC to each creature. You may repeat this process any number of times. So basically, we're going to do this. Discard the top of library. It comes back to hand. I draw that many. I'm dealing damage. The only kicker, though, is that Body of Knowledge has to be big enough that none of the cards in my hand could accidentally kill it. Because all you have to do is get one hit in.
Oh, at random. Yeah.
At random. All you have to do is get one hit in, and then he'll get that much more power and toughness. So it'll kind of make up. So his toughness will always sit there at whatever the number is, because it'll always gain back whatever that damage it took was. And then I draw my deck.
Sweaty.
And I win the game.
I mean, discard card at random. So like you just have to pray you don't hit like an 8-drop off the top, right? or something, like that.
Yeah, basically or whatever I'm at once I discard the card, I just have to pray like, God, I'm gonna have 5 cards after I discard, so now it's 5. I hope it's not a 5 CMC.
Hold on. You're onto this though with your shapeshifter package, right? So you play Body of Knowledge, and then you play Sakashima for 4 and copy Body of Knowledge. And then that way, you know that even if you hit something huge, you have another one to target with the next one.
But no, it wouldn't work like that because all the creatures take the damage at the same time. So if I have 2 Body of Knowledges, yes, like if I say hit an 8-drop and they're both 7s, they're both gonna die. But
I thought it was target creature. It's each creature. Okay,
it's each creature. Okay. So normally people would look at this as a sweeper. I'm looking at it as Library of Ling to the top. And here's the other cool thing, Tuck. Library of Ling will make sure that I don't accidentally discard Labman, Jace, Thassa's Oracle.
Oh, sure.
I protect the combo this way. Because essentially, you don't need Library of Ling, but that's my insurance policy for 1 mana.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I'll pause. What do you think?
I don't think there's another deck that this would work in unless you're really, really trying. I like it. It's disgustingly sweaty. I like that you stuck to your guns and went through this whole rigmarole of trying to figure out how to do this in this bizarro Grixis deck. I don't love that your commander is not super involved into it, but there's so much more that goes into that.
That is what the 2 hours of research was today. Because here's the other kicker to it, is I was trying to figure out a way to when Garza takes damage, she deals damage to each other creature, because then the damages would stack, and then she would never die because those creatures die. She gets +1 counters, and then as long as you guys have creatures left, she will always live. And so, and then it's like you have this big beater for command damage. So that's where I was trying to get her involved. I could not find a single aura, equipment, generic enchantment, planeswalker effect. I couldn't even find an instant that would do it. For a one-time rigmarole. So if anyone in the collective knows how to do it, please let me know, because I would like my commander involved.
It's a lot of work for what you're trying to get there, but hey, I'm here for it. And I approve of this message.
All right, Tuck. Well, what is your last Yeast card?
All right. I figured you'd try to shoehorn your way into an intruder alarm in here, and it came to me in a flash of dream earlier this afternoon. So in similar scope, I spent an hour and a half looking through combos, looking through different cards, and turns out you really need green for that to work. So I completely scrapped that idea and went back to what I know, which is Blight. As you made mention, we're trying to blight it out. And we have found not only the best Blight card that's ever existed.
Oh, you're not actually putting Blight in the deck. I thought you were just putting Blight.
No, just Blight. No. It's the best Blight card, and if you care about double strike and proliferate, our old pal Skittles is going to be a great backup commander. Skithrix the Blight Dragon. She's adorable. 3 colorless double black for legendary creature, Phyrexian Dragon Skeleton. It's a mythic. That's a 4/4 flyer with infect. It becomes for a black, it becomes against haste until end of turn, and then for 2 black, you get to regenerate it. So again, if you're looking into your backup commander package, and this even works with the other things that you put in here, copying it with a Helm of the Host, turning Sakashima into this, then you cast one of your proliferate things, even if you think that all of them are terrible. But if you have your Karn's Bastion out here, you're 2 swings away to kill it, and even less if you can even pump it up by 1, like, Ember Cleave. We're going into this combat damage matters. We're going with the Blight package, and we're going with the backup commander because yours is going to get killed immediately, and it's going to feel bad about it. So Skittles, we're here. Set $14. They're giving it away at this rate.
It's basically free.
Yeah, it's practically free. Compared to your extended art Thassa's Oracle rigmaroles.
I'll say this. I don't hate the idea of a backup commander. I don't know because like I said, I think I need to really lean in if I'm going to do proliferate into the counters. And I just don't know because like right now, Tuck, going through this with cards that I'm willing to add to the deck, my TCG card is already at like 23 cards. And this is just cards. This is just cards off you and I have talked about for the deck and just sidebar. and it's like I'm starting to run out of room. Like, because I'm gonna need.
What's the price of that TCG? What's the price of that TCG cart?
So it's
gotta be like $200.
There's 22 cards in there, and it is at $225. but I am doing that to myself. I am doing it to myself because Library of Ling, I could get a copy for like 50 cents, but there is a beta copy that I could get, so that's $60. And then
$60 for a Library of Ling.
And then there's there was one other one. Gosh, I can't find it now. There was one other card that I was going to get in beta, and wow, it's just not on the list anymore. Anyways, but yeah, so that kind of drove up the cost quite a bit, it coming from beta. So it is what it is. But yeah, $225. But I like that. It's interesting. I just got to figure out, because I think you're helping me. I need to have a backup commander in this deck. I don't know who it's going to be.
To your point, we've already talked over Double Strike, Clone, Body Knowledge combo, Infect, +1/+1 counters, commander damage, right? Like we're at effectively 6 themes of the way this deck could go. So I can understand that if you're like, you know what, I don't even care about Proliferate. I think Skittles gets significantly worse. But if you are trying to do the Infect thing and do the Blight part of it, I think she is a very strong backup commander.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up the Yeast package, and now we're going to head over to the Spice. And BigTuck, you get to start. And I'm looking at my Spice that I picked, and I realize this is not a Spice. This is probably a Yeast. But that's all right. That's all right.
I can't wait to yell at you about that, like you yelled at me about this last time, because I actually sat and took things out of other categories and rearranged them. Because the Skittles was originally a Spice, but I was like, no, it actually ends the game. But see,
that would have been a perfect Spice, because I don't have a counters theme.
But if you have Skittles and Ember Cleave, it's a one shot, and Ember Cleave is good in the deck. It's a mainstay. So this one kind of went back to the same idea of, well, if I'm going to be losing life for whatever reason, I want everyone to lose life. And there's one card. It's costly in terms of mana. There's one card that punishes people so fast and so quickly that their heads are going to spin.
Okay.
Havoc Festival. 4 colorless, Rakdos, black and red, enchantment. Players cannot gain life. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, note that you cast this in your main phase, so you'll be the last to go through this. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses half their life.
I know the card.
Rounded up. It's so good. You hey, look, you want to attack me? Come on down. But not without cost, because you're going to come down right there with me, partner. Love it. It does go against the Basilisk Callers and the X Spheres of the world, but we're trying to get these games over. I'm going to bash in the face of my commander. I don't even need 21 commander to do it. I'll only need 10 or 12. It's like Infect on another card.
Okay. Here's the thing. Are you trying to make everyone hate me at the table and want to kill me first? We've already talked about how my commander is going to be like a kill on sight. It costs 8 mana. I have this in a deck, and as soon as I put it down, everyone freaks out and tries to kill me as quick as possible.
This card?
Yes.
Wait, what deck? Did we not talk about it?
My Vin Diesel deck.
Oh, Grevin? Oh, God, that's so good.
Yeah. And people want to kill me. It sucks.
Yeah, you're right. It is very good. I'm just saying, look, we have talked in the past, and I'm trying to do a better job of trying to find cards and rigmaroles that you will want, as opposed to me just throwing it out. So I decided to lean in on that. And it's like, well, if your shit's getting blown up anyways, you might as well make everyone else pay for it right along with you.
Might as well just die with everyone else.
Yeah. Hey, half of your 14 life is going to be way less of a feel bad than half of someone else who's at 55.
Technically, that is a true statement, Ice. There are no lies in what you say. All right, let me get over this yelling. I don't know why I thought this was a Spice. I think it. Okay, right, you know what? I think I know why it's a Spice, but it's probably a Yeast. I think Psychic Corrosion could maybe fit in the deck. I'm not really doing a mill theme, but 2 colorless blue enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 of their library into their graveyard. I mean, the whole idea of my deck is to draw through my deck, so I should be drawing lots of cards.
So you cast Sticking Study and everyone mills 14. Seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Look. But so okay, now okay.
Okay, so is this a spice? Are you?
I don't know, because we've lost track of what the actual theme of the deck is supposed to be at this point. So it's kind of impossible to tell if this card actually would win you the game or not. I think. All right. I believe in an idealized version. I think this is a good card for the deck. I do agree with that. I think in the idealized, Sermon on the Mount varietal of this deck, this card would absolutely be a Yeast card.
Okay.
No questions asked, right? However, in this bizarro way that we have chosen to go about this from 4 different angles a piece, I think this card will come across as more of an annoyance and a feels bad. That's something that's actually going to win the game for you. So in that sense, here's a great example. And I can't believe I'm bringing this up, but in a lot of decks, Alter the Brood is a spice for the same reason, right? You might be playing creatures or making tokens or whatever, but you're not that's not the end. You're not milling people. It's not the end game and not the end route of the game. Whereas, so in some decks, it's a yeast, in others it's a hops, and in most of the ones you put it in, it's a spice. I can kind of see the same argument for this card in this deck, because in similar scope, drawing cards is part of the deck.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you're going to be able to. I think if you get to the point where you're drawing that mass amount, you're just going to win off of Jace or Labman, right?
That's
as
fair.
opposed to just milling everyone out. So, yeah, I think this is.
Would you almost say that if I run this in the deck, I'm running it in the same way that I do Alter the Brood? I Alter the Brood, I run it because it's I'm playing permanents anyways, so the incidental mill is worth the 1 mana. So for me to justify this, I need to say, hey, well, I'm drawing cards, so the 3 mana is good for the incidental 2 mil per card. If I get 3 triggers off of it, so 6 mil, that's 18 cards for 3 mana, I'll take that. Do I have to kind of make that compromise to myself?
So I'm looking at the cards we talked about today, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all deal with drawing cards, 8 if you include your commander, right?
Okay.
So that's almost half the cards that we talked about today. And that's not to say cards like Mirror Maid, which you specifically were it's a Ristic Study or it's this, that, or the other thing, right? So jeez. It's an inclusion. I have no idea what bucket it goes into.
Okay.
Right? It's so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell without having any actual deck data or anything along those lines in it. So, but it's a very you pick. It's a great Mr. Combo pick. It's in the spirit of the deck, so I'm here for it. This has been, out of all the cards I think we've ever talked about, this is the one that's the most confusing of where it would be categorized. I think the best part about that, you're more stringent on the categorization than I am, probably for a reason. But even you, I think it speaks to that point of even you being I think I might have screwed up.
Well, guys, thanks for making it until the end. And as promised, here's some details about the giveaway from us. We'll be giving away an at-home draft kit with 4 CMD Tower playmats, packs of sleeves, and a sealed box of Zendikar Rising. So that way you can do your own little at-home draft. Of course, be safe. Do it only if you're comfortable, but we're going to be sending that out. And to enter, it's very easy. Just do whatever you can with us on social media. Join our Patreon community. Subscribe to our channels. You get an entry for all those interactions. I'll tell you the best way is join our Patreon. I think it's the $5 a month. You get an additional 10 or 15. And it seems like we have a lot of Squeeze Choir people that actually win. So definitely it pays off. We're going to announce that winner on MTG Action 4 News October 6th and our Twitter account soon after. We'll try to do these giveaways every month. It just kind of depends on what the channel can come up with. But we would love a 5-star review, a subscribe, a follow, all that good stuff wherever you're consuming us. And if you'd like to get a hold of us, here's how you could do that. You can reach me at Mr. Commodore 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck, where could people find out what celebrity that's a C-list you've given a happy birthday to?
I forgot that bit this week, unfortunately. I think the problem is I have too many I have too many bits both for this and in my normal day-to-day life that some of them just fall by the wayside, but you can see me at BigTuck tweeting. I will say that I reached a very exciting thing. Tomer of MTG Goldfish replied to not one, but two of my comment questions.
Ooh,
we're practically, best friends. So.
You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. Also, we will have the website and deck list posted, cmdtower.com/BNBE107. And Squee McGee, if people want to find and get a hold of your Manolith commentary and your awesome audio editing skills, how would they do that? He can do everything you need from a audio perspective, whether it be remote or in person. So if you're ever in KC, swing by, or if not, drop it via the interwebs. Now, this video was brought to you by @_tcoats. Tyler's our video editor. You guys can clearly see where he took over, and I quit doing it because they went from PowerPoint presentations to actual watchable content. But please follow. He does this to help out our channel, and I want to make sure that he's getting the feedback from you guys, so that way he can continue to improve the content. Now, if you'd like to support us out financially, you can head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have many different tiers, like I talked about, as simple as $1 for the Discord, all the way up to 25, and you get playmats, sleeves, all the stuff. I think I am going to start earlier this year, Tuck. We couldn't do it last year, but we're going to get those damn CMD Tower Christmas sweaters going. So make sure that you join our Patreon community, because that's where you will get a massive discount on the sweaters. I'm going to start talking to suppliers this weekend, sending out the same design that Mr. Magoo built for us last year. And I think we did like Jund colors. It looked pretty badass.
It was so cool.
So definitely that is a big perk of it. But if you can't do a monthly subscription, but you would like to maybe pick up said sweater or any of the other CMD Tower branded stuff that we have, head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. There's a redacted bit that I am contractually obligated to mention, but yet not talk about. So BigTuck, theory crafting, Garza Zol Plague Queen. How do you feel at the end? I know initially you laughed out loud. Then you were like, okay, I'm actually kind of excited. Now that we actually talked about it, is this something that you would like to see in real life, or do you think this is just a hot pile of trash?
2 thumbs up. Yes and yes. How do I
say this nicely?
Too far in a limb. Yeah. No. This is what I want. This should be like a replacement Oloro deck, where you're like, you have all these, because I think if you look at all the themes, the card draw, the counters, mostly the infect part of it, right? The normal counter stuff is probably a little too sweaty, but like the Skittles and the Tainted Strike, the Double Strike, the Mill, like I think it actually could. We're big on like finding a theme and going with it, right? But I think maybe picking like, they all seem to kind of go together. Mm-hmm. And I think being able to have that card draw and being able to work through your deck, I think that might kind of work. So I think this is something you should build in real life. I'm not sure about the $220 for 20 cards that you're willing to put down for beta libraries and legs and whatnot, but that's between you, God, your wallet, and the missus.
Yeah, this is one I am currently loading up a cart in TCG Player. No, I don't think I'm going to buy it, but I think I want to kind of add it in, see roughly how much it costs, maybe do some online gold fishing on Tapped Out. Yeah. Just kind of see, because I think the biggest thing that scares me is the 8 mana. 8 mana is a lot. Like I play Kozilek Great Distortion. He's 10, and I have every mana rock possible in there and all the ways to get lands as possible. And it still takes me 6 turns, 7 turns to be able to play them. And I don't think I want to go so heavy on the ramp with this deck, because that'll kind of take away from the other flavors. I want it to be flavorful. Right. So it's like, can I get by on 36 lands, even if I have all the fetches and 10 mana rocks, or do I need 15 mana rocks? How much interaction am I going to need? Counter spells? I think there's still so much room for this deck to grow. Well, yeah, but I do agree, Tuck. I think I probably need to say this. I got 36 lands. We got 10 mana rocks. And then we'll just say there's the obligatory 3 or 4 cards that you have to have in every Grixis deck, whether it be Rhystic Study or whatever. So we're basically at 50 cards. I think with the remaining 50, I need at least 30 cards. Hold on, let me think of this. I think I need 15, 15, and 15 if I'm gonna try to do 3 themes. If I'm trying to do the Blight theme, the extra combat theme, and the card draw theme, I think I need 15 cards that fill each of those so it's somewhat balanced, and then figure out what do I have left, and then fill in that last 5. I think that's maybe the strategy I need to look at, but I don't know. It's just it's exciting. I haven't been excited about building a deck since my dungeon deck. Oh wait, that was just a month ago.
The gears keep going, baby.
All right.
7-drop commanders for the win.
Well, guys, I'm off to go deplete my wedding fund. Goodbye.